Hey guys, welcome back to Vigoroso, DC, and today we are at the District of Columbia War Memorial, which is that right there. And this is a memorial that is on the National Mall that is quite a bit different from the other ones. And I will tell you exactly why in a moment, but first let's get a better look at the memorial itself. So here it is from a little bit of a distance, and this is a memorial to soldiers who were killed in World War I, but specifically from Washington, DC. So this is really the biggest way in how it differs from the other memorials. The other memorials here, say for the World War II memorial, which is right over there in the back. This honors soldiers from all over the United States and territories. In fact, there's a column for each one of the states and territories in DC over there. But this is only for people from Washington, DC who served and were killed. So there are about 26,000 soldiers from DC who served and 499 who were killed. Another way this is different is that this is a local memorial. The rest here are run by the National Park Service. They are all national memorials. This one is completely local, and it was designed by local architects as well. Also, today is the Sunday before Veterans Day, which means that on Veterans Day it will also be the anniversary of this memorial opening up, because this opened on Veterans Day in 1931. President Hoover was here, and there were thousands of people that attended. There were thousands more who listened on the radio. John Philip Sousa, the Marine Band director, was here. General Pershing, who led the U.S. forces in World War I, was here. It was a really big deal. But now, if we take a little pan around the area, back and forth, there's really nobody here. There are people who come and visit. They kind of filter through on their way to other places, and this is also a popular spot for wedding pictures. And I suspect the reason for that is because it's just a lot more accessible. You don't need to get all these permits like you do. Since it's a local memorial, not run by the National Park Service, it might be easier to get permits. It's just easier to get to. You don't have the crowds to fight against. It's very, very beautiful, as you can see, very scenic. And just over there in the background is the tidal basin, which is an artificial body of water, and there are more memorials back in that direction. And here at the base, these are the names of the 499 soldiers who were killed in World War I, and they go all around the base. And we will walk on up. Really a beautiful area over here, and it's kind of secluded. It almost feels like it's a secret place hidden in plain sight, which I'm sure is another reason why it's so popular for wedding pictures. Also graduation pictures, that kind of thing. We pass by here quite a bit on that road right there. So that is Independence Avenue. And we're always coming past this memorial, and sometimes we even walk right past it. It's not hard to find people taking these kinds of professional photos here. And a look down on the ground. So there are 12 Doric columns holding up this roof. And after it was dedicated, it was actually used as a bandstand for a long time for the Marine Band and other military bands to give military concerts, although they don't do that anymore here. And here we have more names of the 499. And then right here, we have this. And it reads, "This memorial was erected through the voluntary subscriptions of the people of Washington. It was dedicated on Armistice Day, 1931, by Herbert Hoover, President of the United States. Within this cornerstone are recorded the names of the 26,000 Washingtonians who, when the United States entered the World War, answered the call to arms and served in the Army, Navy, Marine Corps, and Coast Guard." So those 26,000 names are inside this stone. And it says Armistice Day. So Veterans Day was first known as Armistice Day because it celebrated the truce, the armistice that was signed to end World War I. And believe it or not, the armistice was signed on a train car. I feel like that's kind of interesting, an interesting place to do something so monumental like that. But for about a generation, Veterans Day was not Veterans Day, it was Armistice Day. It specifically celebrated the end of World War I and the peace that came afterwards. Remember, World War I at the time was supposed to be the war to end all wars. It was so much bigger than any other war that had ever been fought. And it deserved a holiday on its own that it ended. Then, of course, later on came World War II and the Korean War also. So by the 1950s, they felt like it was time to kind of update the holiday and have it serve all veterans for all wars, and then it became Veterans Day. But when this opened, of course, in 1931, it was still Armistice Day. Here it says, "The names of the men and women from the District of Columbia who gave their lives in the World War are here inscribed as a perpetual record of their patriotic service to their country. Those who fell and those who survived have given to this and to future generations an example of high idealism, courageous sacrifice, and gallant achievement." And then the names start here and go all the way around. And we have a number of seals that are all around the base as well. So here's one. Here is the District of Columbia seal. On the bottom it says 1871, so that's really when it all became incorporated. There used to be the city of Washington, and then there was this kind of maybe farmland around it, and then later on they incorporated the whole thing to be District of Columbia. If you look at old records, you'll see that it'll often say Washington City instead of Washington, D.C., because that's what it was then. And specifically for World War I here, the Great War for Civilization. And we have the symbol of the fasces in the middle, the fasces with the double axe at the top. At the very top, maybe you can see script that goes all the way around. And it says, "A memorial to the armed forces from the District of Columbia who served their country in the World War." And again, since this opened in 1931, there was only one World War at this point, so the term World War I didn't even exist yet because there was no Part 2. So it says the World War.